In the shadowy corners of 19th century Chicago, a man emerged who would later be remembered as America's first known serial killer. His name was Herman Webster Mudgett, but the world would come to know him by a far more chilling name, H Holmes. He was charming, intelligent, and had the kind of cold cunning that made him deadly. By the time his crimes were uncovered, Holmes had become the face of evil in an era of rapid industrial progress, a polished monster in a growing nation. Born in 1861 in Gilmanton, New Hampshire, Holmes was the son of a violent alcoholic father and a deeply religious mother. From a young age, he showed signs of disturbing behavior. He was unusually fascinated with death and was rumored to have performed experiments on animals. But while many serial killers are socially awkward or loners, Holmes was the opposite. He was articulate, well-dressed, and charismatic, qualities that helped him blend seamlessly into society. Holmes studied medicine at the University of Michigan, where he was often seen stealing cadavers from the school lab to collect insurance money through fake claims. These early scams were just the beginning. Holmes had a dark imagination and a twisted sense of ambition. When he moved to Chicago in the late 1880s, it was as if the perfect stage had been set for his most diabolical scheme. The World's Fair and the Murder Castle. Chicago was booming, and the upcoming World's Columbian Exposition of 1893 promised to bring millions of visitors. Holmes saw an opportunity not just to make money, but to kill without suspicion. He purchased a lot in the Inglewood neighborhood and began construction on what locals would later call the Murder Castle. On the outside, it looked like a grand hotel, but inside, the building was a maze of horrors, staircases that led nowhere, hidden soundproof rooms, trapdoors, secret gas lines, and a basement fitted with a crematorium. The building had over 100 rooms and was designed with one sinister purpose: to trap and kill. He hired and fired multiple construction crews, so no single worker understood the full layout. Each person built a piece of the nightmare, but never saw the full picture. Holmes turned deception into architecture. When the World's Fair opened, Holmes advertised his World's Fair Hotel as a place for visitors to stay. Young women traveling alone to Chicago were his favorite targets. Many were lured in with promises of work or lodging. Some simply checked in and never checked out. A killer's modus operandi. Holmes didn't always kill for pleasure. Sometimes it was for insurance fraud, other times for financial gain, but often it was simply because he could. Victims would be gassed in their rooms, strangled, or experimented on. Some were dissected, their bones cleaned and sold to medical schools. He had an acid pit, a stretching rack, and even surgical tables in his basement. Employees disappeared. Fiancés vanished. Witnesses were silenced. Yet Holmes carried on with an air of sophistication that no one questioned. He had wives, several at once, mistresses, and business partners, all of whom he manipulated or murdered. The hotel became a death trap, a factory of human horror, operated by a man whose calm demeanor masked a monstrous soul. The beginning of the end. Holmes eventually left Chicago and continued his frauds across the country. He was pursued for insurance scams and became involved with an associate named Benjamin Pitezel. Together, they planned to fake Pitezel's death to collect a $10,000 life insurance payout. But Holmes, never one to leave loose ends, murdered Pitezel instead. And then, in a cruel twist, he murdered 3 of Pitezel's children, 2 girls and a boy, while pretending to help Pitezel's wife. It was the murder of the children that finally gave investigators the clues they needed. Pinkerton detectives began tracking Holmes across multiple states. In 1894, he was finally arrested in Boston, not for murder, but for horse theft. However, suspicions grew. Authorities dug into his past and began connecting the dots from the Pitezel children to the strange disappearances around the Murder Castle. When police finally searched the building in Chicago, they found blood-soaked rooms, surgical tools, vats of acid, and human remains buried in the basement. The press erupted with horror stories. Holmes was no longer just a con man. He was a legend of evil. The confession and trial. Holmes initially denied everything, but in prison, he gave a chilling confession, claiming to have killed 27 people, though some estimates go far higher. Some believe he murdered as many as 200 victims. His trial for the murder of Benjamin Pitezel became a media sensation. He acted as his own attorney at times, displaying the same arrogance and charm that had once helped him seduce and deceive. But it didn't work in court. Holmes was found guilty and sentenced to death. In 1896, at the age of 34, he was hanged. True to his obsessive nature, He requested that his body be buried in concrete. He feared grave robbers might dig him out. Ironically, the killer who desecrated so many bodies wanted his own left undisturbed. Legacy of fear. The murder castle was partially destroyed in a mysterious fire shortly after Holmes was arrested. Today, a post office stands on the site in Inglewood. Visitors sometimes say they feel a chill walking past, though the building itself is long gone. Holmes has become part of American criminal folklore. Books, documentaries, and even fictional stories like American Horror Story Hotel have drawn inspiration from his life. He is often cited as the first modern serial killer in the United States. But what made Holmes particularly terrifying wasn't just the number of victims. It was the methodical, emotionless way he constructed a world around his crimes. He didn't just kill, he built a labyrinth designed to consume the innocent. He used science, charm, and planning as weapons, and he operated in plain sight. During one of America's proudest moments, the World's Fair, the final thought. Even over a century later, Holmes's crimes haunt the pages of American history. He wasn't just a murderer, he was a builder of nightmares, a con artist with a scalpel, a charming devil who walked among men while hiding unspeakable evil behind polished shoes and a smile. If this chilling tale fascinated you, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a story. I release new true crime stories daily, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Comment below. Do you think Holmes was born evil or made by circumstance? Let's talk.